Hey guys, welcome back. My name is Peter, this is Tech Suvara, and today we're going to talk about whether you surf AI or die. So let's get straight into it. Okay, let's get something straight first. Let's work out an alternate definition to artificial intelligence. And I'll start the entire premise of this video on this basis because the interpretation of the very idea of intelligence is what I believe obfuscating and making the use of these tools more difficult and more complicated than they need to be. So instead of calling it intelligence, which is really a broad, undefined, non-specific definition that can be interpreted in many different ways, and people do use that for their advantage. So we're going to remove the idea of intelligence. It's because intelligence can be anything. It can be a single body cell, evolutionary programming, an algorithms. It can be a neural network. It can be a hive mind. Intelligence is such a broad concept that it really takes away from what we're trying to achieve here on a tech channel to discuss the idea. So we're going to change intelligence and we're going to replace it with the word machine. And the reason for that is that a machine is a lot easier to specify as to what it does and what it is. And really, I want to first talk about why we use the word machines. Now I want to talk about this in the context of biology. Now you may or may not know that the very idea of machines goes all the way down to the molecular level. Machines in chemistry, they perform certain functions and perform certain things over time, and these then scale up to things like cells. So if we look at the way a virus cell works, it is a machine. And if we want to look at things which are used for reproduction, all we need to look at is as DNA and things like CRISPR. CRISPR is almost like a machine that works on the thread of the strand of DNA. So, but they perform a certain function, and as we go up on the scale of things, you can see ourselves made up of millions and billions of little machines that are constantly doing something. If you look at our heart, it's pumping, it's a machine, it can be replaced, it can be made artificial. You look at our limbs, they're alive, they are machines, they can be replaced. The further we go up in scale and complexity, the more the machine can do and the more adaptable it is. And so we can look at these new machines, these neural networks, these natural language processors as a new set of tools. And with that in mind, it gives us a much easier and much less difficult way to analyze what we can do with these things. And so I want to then now move on to the next item, which is the ability to use these machines for what we want to achieve as software developers and coders. So a friend of mine, Mark Moyens, I hope I got your name right there, Mark, has been looking at writing a book called AI for Coders. This book, I believe, will be a Bible for anyone that wants to be able to use these tools effectively, to use these machines effectively. Now, I personally believe that the invention of the internet is like the invention of these natural language processors of that scale, if not bigger. It's going to fundamentally change the way we work. It's going to fundamentally change how we interact with people. And this is going to happen just in the same way as the internet changed the world around us. So the internet, again, is like a network. It is a machine. It is powered by machines. It's a machine with a collection of machines. The internet has opened up a whole new world of productivity for us. And the same thing will happen with these natural language processors like ChatGPT. As they plug into other different machines, they can help us utilize a new set of tools which we can apply for lots of different things. So there's always bad actors, there's good actors, there's black hat hackers, there's white hat hackers, good guys, bad guys. I'm not going to go into the problems associated with bad actors using AI. I'm going to talk about what we as developers can do with these new machines to help us become better developers. And so the first thing I want to talk about is my experience. So most recently, I've had 2 projects that I've both utilized for developing products. The first one is a Python tool. So I used it primarily at the beginning to try and refresh my mind on how to use Python and the syntax and some of the structures and organizing the different code components. It's like functions and lists. So basically it really came down to being able to switch over to another context without putting that much effort into looking up all the documentation again, without going through Stack Overflow and trying to find out, oh, well, how do you add items to a list? I forgot how to do that. How do you do this? I forgot how to do that. Whatever small thing that I needed to do that was simple, I went and asked ChatGPT to put it together. I looked at it, and because I'd previously worked with Python a lot for tooling, I could look at it and I could then get straight into it and say, oh, well, that makes sense, right? I've done that. Yes, that works. Okay, let's put it into the code. Let's use it. The same thing goes for the second project. So the second project that I'm working on is really lucrative for me. I took a risk to do it because I'm doing it in my time outside the core things that I need to do, and I'm really busy, and it's a short timeline. So I used it to switch over again to JavaScript, which I had used but not for a while. And so in combination with some of the documentation that I had, ChatGPT was really, really useful in getting the project structured and started. It refreshed my mind on how to use JavaScript. And so now I'm going through and I'm writing this code, and it's much easier having this tool. But it's not going to replace anything. Training up people, I'm working with young people who are learning skills, but even then, the ideas that you try to present to these natural language processors, they're pretty good, but they have this kind of element of flakiness to them, which can improve. But the fundamental interaction is how you use them. So I could still use this tool to write an entire app, but I would need to structure my communication, the language that I use to interact with this machine. I would need to structure it in such a way that it gives me the response that I would produce if I were to code it. Now, the question here is if I didn't know how to code, if I didn't know how to the structure JavaScript or Python, could I use these tools to do it for me? Short answer is no. No language, no Swift UI. I couldn't use it because it is not able to create the extent and the complexity that you would over a long period of time. So what I found was that you could give it snippets, and it would have blocks that you could work with, and then you'd use that and you'd dig into these small snippets and try to expand the information, and you'd use that. But there's no broad overreaching project structure. And I think you could use it in a way that maybe you could tweak the language and improve it. Like there was another a tool previously that was used, Codex, and you could build these apps and write them. And this is the kind of the same thing. It gets to a point where you're better off just writing the code or tweaking the code because it's got more fidelity and the communication is more direct, right? I have an idea, I type it, it changes the code. So as an example is you have your fine-tuning values for velocity of an object, so it's more fun and interesting to play with. How do you tell, especially for video games, how do you tell an AI bot or an AI natural language processor? Well, this object is not moving in a way that is fun, but how does the AI know what is fun for you, right? Like, how does the machine know what's fun for you? It would need to be able to reflect your intentions through a certain language, and that language at the moment is the English language or a natural language. It's not a language that's defined by clear syntax and numbers. So I want to go take a step back. So there was a podcast by Sam Harris who had a couple of AI researchers on his podcast. I think it's called The Trouble with AI, something like that. And they said the exact same thing. The expressiveness of a programming language is far easier to control than a natural language processor, because you can directly change certain things that you're looking at changing. With the natural language processor, you have to try and guide it, and can you please change this value to this value? Well, why not just change it yourself? Like, it's much easier to change 10 to 15, or you can tell the AI to change please change the number 10 to the number 15, and that doesn't really work as easily as you would with a programming language. So let's go back, and the point there is the expressiveness is fundamental to how we use these things, and the application of and strategy that you apply in using these machines, these tools, will reflect how effective they are. And so Mark Moyens is writing this book, AI for Coders. I have a link in the description, and also there'll be a link shared on this view somewhere, shared on the screen. Go and check it out. Check out this book. Sign up for, I think, the trial chapters. I think it's going to fundamentally help so many people with their both productivity and their ability to use AI tools to create cool stuff, to be productive. So check it out. Big Mountain Studios. Mark, thanks for sending through the info with the latest information about your book. I'm all on board with this. I think this is the future. It makes me, the ChatGPT stuff has made me more productive. It has helped me with being able to actually learn how to communicate more clearly in how I write, because I'm practicing more of the natural language process. And it is also opening up my mind to new approaches when coding. I found that, okay, that's an interesting way. Yeah, I could do it that way too. But it's not foolproof by any means, and I don't see how it would replace what a coder does. And I think I want to finish off with some good some good news and a positive outlook on this stuff. So, in the same way that I mentioned at the beginning of the video that machines build us, make us, right? We are made up of little machines, millions and billions of little machines, of cells, of cells that copy our genetic code, of cells that reproduce, of our immune system, of our essential function. Like everything about us, you could say in a way, is a machine. In the same way that we don't want to destroy our little machines, we don't have why would we do that? They make us who we are. We've been created by them. We are run by them. We run the greater intelligence of this AI that we're creating. So we're the little machines of this big machine. And I hope on that note, gives you some idea of why I don't believe in any of these doomsday scenarios. I think that there will be no intention for whatever the greater intelligence that we create. There's no intention for it to destroy the things that made it, because it will not be able to function without us. Just as we can't function without our cells, just as we can't function without our atoms, and so on and so forth. So guys, thanks again for joining and listening, and go and check out Mark's book, AI for Coders. Check out bigmountainstudio.com. I'll put the links here in the description, and again, thanks for listening. Catch you at the next one. Bye.